This is Richard back at you. We got David's transmission in the house, all the way from Kansas. It's an 80 model Jeep, four-wheel drive.
It's a 6.0 liter.
6.0 motor, yes ma'am. Now he brought us two trannies. He bought one 350 tranny that's been rebuilt multiple times by different people, I guess. One here, shows one here. And I guess the last few that he's done, it didn't work right. Second gear's messed up or something's just not right. So he just brought it to me to tear down and see what's going on with this one here. But he also brought me a core that we can jerk parts out of, and hopefully we can get some good pieces out of the core.
Dang, Richard. We got a lot.
Yeah, we got a few to do. We got a drag power glide to do. We got another nitrous powered little Willis pickup to do. A nitrous powered Trans Am to do. We got a bunch of stuff to do. But we're excited to have work, that's for sure.
No
because
doubt.
that's what it takes to keep me happy and satisfied. There you go.
How about happy wife, happy life?
There you go. Well, we're going to take this one apart, kind of see what he's got going on here.
See what happened to her.
Yes. They got the old dipstick siliconed in there really good. These dipsticks here, they're nice because you can put them anywhere, but boy, I just don't like filling them up. It's like trying to pour a quart of oil down a straw. You know, the ends are really small.
Yeah,
So
that looks
I
hard,
think
huh?
when you buy that dipstick tube assembly, it comes with a little tiny funnel or something that goes in there, because every time we put our gun in there, we have to wrap it up, stick it down there, and pump it in there really slow.
So if you didn't know, we just got back from our trip. Yay! That's
Yeah.
why there haven't been no videos.
We just had our 35th anniversary,
Yeah, the mountains were great.
and I mean, it was a fun one. We got snowed in up at Red River. We had a blast. But anyway, we got our intermediate accumulator right here. I'm not sure what he's got here. He does have a spring in there. We do have a seal in there. We have a piston here. See how it feels. It's got metal rings. And anytime you got locking metal rings like this does, you want to take the ring off, stick it in the bore, and make sure it ain't out on the very edge here where it's not going to be sealing. So you always want to have the ring gap like that. If it's in the bore and it's stuck out there on the end like that, then it's going to, when the tranny heats up, it's probably going to leak around the rings there.
So is that something you recommend, metal rings, or no?
Well, I mean, yeah, the metal rings, I really do like them when they're fresh. But you always want to check the bore. Down in here, you want to feel when you clean it up, look for any scarring on both places, this ring area and this ring area here. A lot of times this spring breaks and just destroys the outer area where this ring right here runs. So you always want to check that. Now, if you do get one in here that's bad, you can block the piston back, but you're really going to have a really firm second gear. Now, what we like to do is leave the spring out, go drive it. If it works really good, then we don't have to put the spring back in. But if second gear is too firm, we can just physically put the spring back in without pulling the pan or anything crazy like that. Now, he does have a temperature sensor here of some sort. Looks like it's glued in there. But we want to change that up. We don't want to hurt that sensor rolling it around. But we're going to change this up and put that somewhere else. Well, I could have popped the governor off real quick. Kind of see what it looks like here. See how this governor moves a lot right here? I like to take and tap that in just a little bit right there. You can take a small ball peen hammer and sit here and tap the center of that in. Check it. Check it. Check it. See, I still like just a little bit of movement, but I don't want no 1/4 inch of this thing sliding back and forth. And what you're tapping in on, you're just going to be tapping in where it touches this little piece right here. You can see where it normally touches anyway. But when you get this really loose like that and you don't have this clip to hold that cover on, this, when you go backwards and forwards, this taps on this cover. And next thing you know, this slowly taps the cover out and it starts leaking. We always want to glue these in too. That keeps it from happening. But just take up the gap where this doesn't really move back and forth a whole bunch. Now, if you notice here too, he's got a fully manual reverse valve body on this, I believe. They got this little clip right here that's holding everything out. So normally we would TIG weld this here, TIG weld this here, and then TIG weld the shoulders here where the big ones don't move. But they sell this little piece here that does do that. You can grind the gear off, leave the inner part of the gear, this part, but take the teeth off where it just sits there. That way it's in the right position. But you don't want it, don't have to be spinning, it can just be sitting there dead. Now this is one thing we're going to be changing here, is anytime you take the modulator off these, they're just not good for going to the river or anything like that, rock crawling, because you know you're going to drive a long ways to get there. You're going to hang out with your buddies and drink a beer while your vehicle's out there running or whatever.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah. And when you take the modulator loose or leave it off or even unplug it, this tranny goes to max pressure. Now, if it's got a shift kit pressure regulator spring in it, it's even go to higher pressure. So when it does that, it wipes the pump out. You're sitting there idling at 200 pounds, when normally this tranny idle would be about 40 pounds with the modulator hooked up. So we'll definitely, even though it's a fully manual valve body, we're going to put a modulator back on this thing. That way he can cruise it around and not kill the pump in a short period of time. 350s ain't very strong to start with, so you don't want to add to it. You can see here's temperature sensor coming in the pan. Now we're going to try to relocate that in a different area because he says he just keeps knocking it off, tearing it up. Pan don't look really bad for a 350, I guess. Probably never been off in a while. Anytime we rebuild the tranny and the dirty bird, or just take it apart and check it out. After we do a weekend of running, we'll pull the pan and clean it, no matter what. Just make sure it doesn't have any trash floating around. Now the old filter definitely, oh look at that, they didn't even get the gasket on there. That's how the gasket come off, it's stuck on there.
Oh wow.
So you know it was sucking air here, sucking air here. So that's a no-no right there.
Wow.
I didn't even get that on there, right? You can see that.
Yeah.
Filter's totally plugged up. Now you can see here, they have modified the passing gear linkage right here. Normally there's a little nub sticking out and your passing gear cable and linkage stuff comes through here and you push it down, the gas pedal down, it pushes the valve in and out, or down this way. We always block them back. I show it in other videos. We just tie it back a little bit. Not all the way into the passing gear part of it, but we tie it back. Normally this valve has 2 springs in it. You push it, it stops, and then it gets firmer in the second spring. We like to make it where it just goes to and uses the first part of the spring and never go into the second part, because that's what causes it to stay in passing gear. We have our detent spring here. Now you notice here, you can see the pressure regulator spring right here, it's green. Now that is a factory spring. Normally red, black, a bright yellow, something like that will be shift kit stuff. Now this is a reverse manual valve body. Looks like they machined it off really nice. We like to go in and just check your valves. This valve right here is usually blocked. Actually, it's not blocked at all. It's just in there. Normally, I block these completely where they don't move. This is different too here. They've done a lot of changing here. They took the spring out of the accumulator here. Normally, there'd be a big spring in there. Thought I had one here. I'd kind of show you. Similar to this here. That'd have a spring in there, and then that'd be in there.
So is that what you're gonna do?
Normally I like to leave a little bit, a really weak spring in there. That way the piston stays up and the keeper stays down in here. Kind of holds it in there. 'Cause this thing will always set at the bottom until it's being used.
Yeah.
This little clip, I've learned I'll just take and put them over here because it just seems like they get lost. And you can see here they took a valve completely out. Now since it's a reverse pattern, that's why there's probably so much work done to the valve body. Because this tranny here is really easy to make fully manual, but in the standard forward pattern where you got low, second, third, neutral, reverse, park. Well, this one goes park, reverse, neutral, first, second, third. See, so I don't like it that way, but they do sell shifters, and a shifter is that way. So they'll definitely have to go back. You always want to look at the gaskets because a lot of times they do modifications to the gasket. Might cover a hole somewhere, might not cover a hole. You know, you just got to be careful. Now, this gasket's on there really crooked, just kind of like the filter gasket is. If you can see, it's plumb off to the side. Not even on, look here. So, same way with this gasket here. This one don't look as bad.
It is crooked.
Actually, you know what? They got the valve body gaskets on wrong. It's so critical to put these gaskets on right. Look, guys, they had the valve body gasket on the case and the case gasket on the valve body. It goes like that. That's why it burned up. I always talk about gaskets. These gaskets here, they don't have a C for case or V for valve body. Only your 4L60s and 700s and stuff like that have them. But that was the problem right there. When they built the tranny, they put the gaskets on backwards. They had them like this. See, so look at all the cross leaks if you put it on backwards. All kinds of cross leaks through here, everywhere. Put this on there, covers everything up like it's supposed to. So, it's hard to believe that a builder can do that. I'm not going to talk bad about builders. Don't want anybody accusing me of that, but I tell you what, I guarantee a lot of tranny shops do a lot of redos because of builders. So, we do. We have our engine braking band servo here. You just want to make sure you put this the right direction because it's got the little deals here. This has to go up against the, where'd it go, my piston. Just like that. You see this other side's flat, but it doesn't go, it goes just like that. So, but anyway, let's see if he's got any check balls in the case at all. Should have been one here, should have been one here, should have been one here, should have been one here. So we physically have no check balls in the case. Actually forgot a socket. Didn't lose my tin.
Nobody's here to take it.
Nope. We have your parking assembly here. And when you put it in park, you hear that click, click, click. You put it and it goes in, it physically goes ahead and goes into park. When you're still rolling is because this here goes back like this and lets the shifter go in. And then when it lines up to lock in, this physically, the spring goes ahead and pushes it in to lock it. So, pretty simple there, huh, Teresa?
Yeah.
We definitely got a lot of silicone around the bolts. Now, I believe that's one reason we were taught, he brought us another case too, is because the pump bolt area I think some of the threads were pulled out and stuff. Oh, that's got a nut on it. That's kind of crazy. Anytime this tranny shifts into second gear, it tries to push the pump out. The intermediate piston that applies the clutch is physically in the pump. So it tries to shove it out. I'm going to show you something here too. There's very few ways you can adjust the clutch in the back of this case right here. 350 clutches are the thickest low reverse clutch. They're thicker than a 700, 4060, stuff like that. So if you stack it all up with the right steels and right clutches and it still is too loose, then you can take two 4060E clutches and put them together and put them in there and check your clearance that way. But you can physically see when you air check it through the hole, you can watch this piston move right here. There's no other way to put a dial caliper in there or anything like that to watch the clutch or to check your clearances. But you can blow in this hole and this piston will move right here. I like to take a little scratch the piston, and then when I air check it and blow the piston, I can kind of see how far it moves and check it that way and set it up that way. So a lot of people say, how do I set the clearance? How do I set the clearance? Well, they're designed to go together one way, and they should just be right off the bat. But not always. Now he had no second gear, which the sprag is busted. You can see it here. Here's pieces of the, not sprag, roller clutch, excuse me. We'll get to that part here in a minute. There's a snap ring here. Now we're going to get in here, we're going to have a bearing. And we're going to have some spacers under here to check set your clearance. Normally there would be a thrust washer here. They do make a bearing you can put in there and set them that way, or you can use a thrust washer. They make different thicknesses, and you can even put this spacer under the thrust washer too, because it's cut here where the spacer locks, or this thrust washer locks in. It's got a little tab that way it doesn't turn. Pretty simple. Now we have all metal sealing rings here. Got your forward here, you got your reverse and your direct clutch here. Now you notice we have one sealing ring missing, which that's when we do a high performance build, we leave this ring off, and we also leave the seal off in the third gear drum. Now when we go back with this unit, we would never put a metal sealing ring back in here. Never. Even if the overhaul kit's going to come with sealing rings, but we always go back with a high pressure Teflon. Now some of these kits don't come with all the rings. You might have to use some of your other sealing rings for different areas like your accumulator, stuff like that. But we always go back with Teflon. We never use the steel. I've got thousands of these steels over here. We used to buy them in tubes of 200, 250, but don't use them anymore. Still got them over there. Like I said, anytime we have a tranny that the modulator has been removed, we always think we're going to have tons of pump wear because of just overpressure in the pump. This won't last. Of course, this is one of them. If you look over here, from here to here, it still has a decent color to the pump. But if you look over here, this whole side from here to here is wiped out where it tried to push the pump gear that direction. And relieving or disconnecting the modulator will cause that problem, and it causes it really quick, especially if you're idling, cruising around, you know, at the river or anything like that. This tranny with the modulator unhooked is pegged, high pressure. Now I was talking about how you have your intermediate piston here. It sets in there like this, so anytime the second gear clutch comes on, it pushes the clutch on, but it also tries to shove the pump out of the tranny. Stator's bad too through here. Just been a lot of grinding. So that's pretty much trash. Pump body's pretty much trash. But that's why we got the core over here, hoping that it's got a good pump, because 350 pumps are obsolete, guys.
A lot of stuff is obsolete.
A lot of stuff is obsolete. But we keep taking jobs on and hunting parts, taking days to find parts. I got some really good guys at Transtar that help me out. Oh, Raymond, you the man, let me tell you. You the man. You take care of me like crazy. My parts are here every morning. Like I said, they do make a 2-piston, or a thicker piston here, but they only put 2 clutches in your intermediate. But this is one that does take 3 clutches. You can have this shaved down if you want to add another clutch. Put our stud right there. Pump gasket seems to be on right. They did leave the wave in here. Now you notice this wave's broken. Actually, it's not. It's made like that. I don't like to use the ones that's like that. I like to use a solid one. But this one still can be used. I like to put the gap towards the bottom when I put it together. I would say we're having some issues with second gear. But when you have a valve body gasket on wrong, you're going to have all kinds of problems with everything. And like I said, this clutch on the 350 is so big compared to your standard clutch. I mean, this is your forward and your direct clutch. This is your second gear clutch. I mean, just night and day. And there's only 3 of these, and we're going to get 5 in the third gear clutch pack. So we got a shaved piston over there. I'll show you in just a second. But our intermediate steels are gone. They're purple. Clutches are cooked. Backing plate looks good. Of course, our roller clutch outer race is destroyed. It just killed it when it killed everything else. We got all of our rollers and stuff out of our roller clutch. Our engine brake band, I'd say, is toast. I think it's just wiped out. You can see our drum here where our band was running is no good. Cooked it. This is where our roller clutch would set. Your sealing rings would run through here. See that one is really close to the edge of this chamfer right here. You want to try to get it. I don't like to shim my drum away from the pump. I don't like to put spacers here and move my drum away from the pump. But when you do, you put that sealing ring right here, right on this edge. And that's a no-no. Especially on the Teflon. The steel one, it's critical, but the steel one will survive it. Well, them high-pressure Teflons might try to take and bend it down through here and ruin the ring. So that's a no-no. So, but what I like to do is I like to put my spacers under the back case bearing back here and move everything forward. I don't like to move it back because when you move it back, that's the problem you run into. Now you can see here we just have a 4 clutch high gear. Now what we do is we come in here, I take about 15 of these pistons down to the machine shop, and they shave about 175 thousandths off here. So I can get 5 clutches in this drum. This piston's about a clutch and a steel thicker. Shave it off, you can add another clutch and steel down in there, and now you got 5 clutches in your third gear. That's a must. 4 just won't cut it. I mean, this tranny won't handle a lot of power to start with, so you got to help it all you can. Got a wide bushing, which is good. We'll put another one back in, but this drum's toast, so we got to find that. You have a bearing here. And you got to remember too, let me show you this. This bearing right here has got a lip on it that sticks out. This bushing has to be set down below flush. If you put that bushing flush, that's going to hit it and you're going to create a ton of metal. So below flush. Just stick your bearing in there. You can come in here and you can see here, Teresa. See how you can see that little gap in there? Mm-hmm. Got to have it. I try to go in as minimal as possible, because if you come out this far here, too far, you'll rub that bushing or rub right here. So you got to be careful, but just do it this way. Just look here and just barely get enough clearance in there for that to sit there. So that's pretty simple. No billet shafts or anything that I see. You always want to check these really good here for the bushing wear, down in here too. Yeah. I've never, let's see how many they got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they got 5 clutches here. If you try to add another clutch in the forward drum, if you shave this steel down, what'll happen is the steel will get hung up under this. It won't run up and down. It'll actually turn and get hung up on there. And when it does, when the piston comes up, it cannot apply the clutch because the steel plate has been turned and it's hung up under there. See? So you got your lube seal here, and it's also a bushing. They make them brass, plastic. Don't want to leave it out because then you'll starve all the back of your planets and stuff back there with oil because your lube oil comes through here. You leave it out, see. I did want to say on this third gear drum though, you want to take this one seal out right here. I'm going to get over here and take this apart real quick, Teresa.
Got a lot going on in here.
We do, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it exciting.
Sure does.
We don't like to leave any springs off or anything like that. A lot of times I get them in here, people leave them off. We want to leave them on there that way because when this train is at real high pressure, they actually use these springs to keep the clutch off too from cross leaks and stuff like that. So the more springs you take off, the chance you got this clutch coming on when it's not command to. So you got to be really careful. We have our piston here. See the height difference? When I was talking about, you put that new cut piston down in there, you want to stick that steel down in there and make sure it cannot get under that lip. If it can get down in here and get under that lip and turn, see how that will not let it come up no more? So you got to make sure that your buddy didn't cut your piston too much, and now your steel can get under that lip, under that land right through there, I guess you could call it. See, this one will not go. So now I get 5 clutches in here. We keep all of these. We get about 15 of them built up, and then we'll take them and have them all machined at one time. That way when he's got his machine mocked up for him, he can just knock them out. Of course, all the thrush washers are going to be trash in this thing. There's just so much metal that's gone through it. You got your bushing here, which has never been replaced. If I can get down in there. I'm going to have to put my
Spectacles on.
spectacles on for just a second. Let's see if I can get that out of there. Look at that. Now, how does that happen? Not very often.
You got eyeballs on.
This planet's your forward planet. You just want to make sure the gears don't wobble. Look at your pins, make sure they're not purple. And make sure this area right here is good where this bushing runs. If it's wore out, you can't put another bushing on it. So always replace your bushing. Look here. Same way here with your shell. They really, I don't think they make any heavier duty shells in the factory. This factory shell will hold a ton of power. Always replace your bushings. Look at your sun gear. Make sure your teeth look really good. Of course, you have one of your brass 4-tab washers that's set down in here. Now this 4-tab washer, you can put a plastic or brass. This will even retrofit into a 4L60E, 4L700, or anything like that. So. Okay. We have our low reverse clutch pack here. We've got 5 clutches in it, which is plenty. I've never, you know, this piston here, this tranny we got fixing to tear down probably looks like a small V8. Something with no power, didn't come in a pickup or something. It didn't come out of a pickup. It's probably got really tall pistons in it, stuff like that. With a back clutch back here in that unit probably only has 4, where this one here has 5. But you can shave that piston down the same height as this one and put a 5 clutch in the back. We don't ever do it, but 5 clutches usually is enough. But if you got a 4 clutch, you can do that. Your lower planetary, you want to look at it really good. Make sure there's no wobbling. Now if you notice here though, this ring gear and stuff in the bottom here has that 3-tab washer. Sets in there like that. Well, they make one that has a roller bearing right here. You get rid of that washer. The planet will stay the same. You can put a bearing on this or a washer. If you get a ring gear that's got a bearing in here, this planet that had a washer on it will fit right in there and work. So we're hoping the other 4 we got down, or fixing to tear down, will have a bearing here so we can put a bearing in here. That way it takes a lot more load in first gear when he's climbing and stuff like that. So now we're talking about setting clearances. If you notice here, they already have a shim here on top of this bearing. This tranny did not come out with that there. So they've already tried to move everything forward, and then they tried to set the clearances here at the pump stator too. You know, if you had new washers, these don't look like I don't know if they've ever been new. Not recently anyway. But anytime you put new washers and stuff in there, it tightens everything up too, moves everything forward. So you just gotta know how to do it, I guess, huh, Teresa? There's a lot to it. But like I said, we like to space everything forward. That way our sealing ring stays really far down inside here instead of being on this chamfer. That's one main reason right there. So look at your roller clutch here. Now this is a small roller clutch. The 4L60E 700s, the big roller clutch will fit right in here. We can pull it out of a 4L60E and put it right in here and it'll be the same. The lip here is the same, everything. So you really don't have to do much. But you definitely want to upgrade that to the bigger one. Well, anyway, guys, we're going to probably trash this case since we have a stud here. Looks like we got a Healy coil here, Healy coil there, Healy coil there, Healy coil there, Healy coil there. Just too many Healy coils in there. We're going to, time I spend, put all Healy coils in there, you're probably talking 50, 60 bucks just in Healy coils. Nowadays, Healy coils have gone up so much. So when we buy them. But anyway, we're going to clean this one off. We're going to get this one over here, tear it down too, pull all the good parts out of it, push it out of the way, and get going on another one, huh, Teresa? Don't forget to subscribe, push the notification bell. Teresa, you're the best camera person around, right?
I'm the professional film crew.
There you go, there you go. Well, guys, we enjoy it. Stay safe. Have a great day.